Before you buy gold or crypto, you need to listen to this episode. I'm having my friend Kury back on, and he's going to be talking about the world finance. We've had a crypto crash, gold's going through the roof, and insider trading, and it looks like one power is taking over another. Let's just see what's going on here, guys. Stay tuned.
The world keeps lying, but he won't retreat on his quest for truth. Yeah. Truth, quest for truth. They can't stop me, they can't block me. Moving through, got that fire, they can't block me. Quest for truth, breaking chains, making waves. That's what I do. When they hate, I create.
Welcome to the show again, Kury. It's nice to have you back, and we have a lot to talk about because this world seems to be going and setting itself on fire, especially in the financial markets. We have a huge crypto crash that took place. Gold is flying through the roof. Weird inside plays. People are talking about Nasara Jasara. There's so much going on with all this, man. I really want to get your take on it because I was listening, and I think I sent you part of that interview I was listening to where they were talking about how gold is going to probably go through the roof. And then one of the keywords that I wrote down with this was the constitutional dollar. And so I'm very curious what all that means. So I'm going to give you the floor for a minute.
Well, thanks for having me again. It's interesting with what's going on out there. There's all kinds of theories being floated. The bottom line is central banks are buying gold, primarily Chinese and India. This is basically, and for the first time in I think it's like 34 years that central banks now hold as much gold on the balance sheet as they do U.S. Treasuries.
Wow.
And ultimately, this is just the lack of faith and trust in the United States government and the dollar. Once the U.S. weaponized it against Russia, the writing's on the wall. These things don't break overnight, though. The U.S. dollar is still the world's reserve currency for now. It is still what is passed around for trade. But what's happening is, things like China are building the rails to settle trade in the yuan, but allowing their trading partners to purchase gold with the yuan. It's an interesting, it builds some kind of a level of trust. I mean, obviously, sadly, the United States proved you can't trust a government to have the gold to back the dollars they print or whatever paper currency they print. So you're never, I don't see that system taking flight. It may be tried again. So the Chinese are basically doing this by saying, yeah, you can buy gold because they have their own Hong Kong exchange. They can, and what they've done, interestingly enough, too, is they're building vaults in their trading partners' countries so that they can actually move the gold in the vault in your country, and it's built on a ledger. And that way you don't have them flying tons of gold from China in. Here's our payment for the month, etc. The gold sits in a vault. We move it to this side of the vault. When you pay us in yuan, that's your gold, blah, blah, blah. So that does build some kind of trust.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that gold is very high right now. I mean, it's crazy because I had got some gold maybe, let's see, it was about 2 years ago, and it was just not even at 2,000 an ounce at the time that I got it. And at the time I was like, man, this is really high to be purchasing gold. But, throughout life, I kind of purchased I used to be very, very poor and still not rich, but like every week I would purchase like a silver round after work. I would go and purchase a silver round from the little silver place, and that piles up, to be a lot. And so I wanted to trade some of that for gold, and I was really scared to do it, but I'm glad I did. But do you see it going further higher than what it is right now?
It's going to go higher for sure. Yeah. Wow. Gold is gone up 100% since 2011. Not any kind of revolutionary. It's not even keeping up with the money supply. So you can, but it is the play for right now. But here's the simple fact too. We saw this in 2010, big run to 2000, right?
Yeah.
Well, what happened? I happened to live in Nevada at the time, by a gold mine. They just ramped up production.
Yeah.
2010, 2011, more people moved into town, more gold miners were there. They ripped out more production. What happens? Gold goes down for 10 years.
Yeah. And they're starting to
Right?
mine in places like, is it Uganda, I think, that's opening mines. And weirdly enough, I know one of the guys that's going to set up these mines over there. There's weird stuff going on with all that, which I'm not going to get into, but that seems like another thing. They're talking about millions and millions of dollars of gold. So do you think it might level out for a while people are mining
Well,
it?
I think it can, but it's not going to level out yet. I think it's
Yeah.
going much higher. It takes them a time, right, to ramp it. We have a ton of gold here in El Salvador.
Yeah.
They're starting to mine now. But the bottom line is, everything. First, you get the price. Now it becomes profitable to mine all these new deposits. Supply hits the market 2 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the gold swings since the fiat currency age, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's running in a 10-year cycle. This started bottomed in 2016. Mm-hmm. So I expect the top end of 2026, early 2027. How 5,000, 7,500, maybe at that point. Again, the dollar's losing value every day. And, gold is a somewhat fixed asset, but of course we'll probably see production go from 2% to 4% over the next 2 years until, again, they hit a level where gold price starts to fall and then they start to cut off production. So it's a supply and demand thing.
Absolutely. What do you think about silver? Do you think silver is going to go up as well?
Silver is riding gold's coattails. We know all about the paper manipulation. It's more rampant in silver, but again, I don't know because silver is not monetized. Central banks are not buying silver. There has been rumors of a shortage. There was a big shipment this week from the New York COMEX to the LBMA in London. They were running short. They run on about 140 billion ounce float where they sell or they trade 600 billion ounces a day. So they run at about a 7%. It's fractional reserve banking, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if enough people ask for their silver and delivery, that can cause a problem. But we saw this with gold earlier or late last year, where they had trouble with delivery coming out of London again, because the United States, we assumed the U.S. was refilling Fort Knox because Trump was threatening to audit. I think the actual fact is we have from years of treaty and entanglement with both Europe, and European banks have been abusing the dollar system with what you call the euro dollar for years. What I kind of see behind the scenes, Tom Luongo has spoken in depth about this, is the United States is actually done with the Davos crowd, the globalists out of Europe, and they're basically destroying the Eurodollar system, making it very expensive. That's why Powell, I think, did not lower interest rates. The economy said we should have lowered the interest rates 6 months before they did.
Absolutely.
But he didn't. It was making things very hard and difficult because these banks, they don't, they have no ties to the United States. What do? They issue dollar denominated loans, dollars created out of thin air. Those dollars then flow back to the United States because Europeans are buying American stocks. They're creating inflation over here with dollars that were never created in the United States. We are with no trade value. We're not taking those dollars, sending them to Europe in terms of trade, and then them coming back. They're just creating them and sending them over here, creating inflation over here. So they basically built a system here, and there's other ties to the King of England and the Rothschilds, who we know have a major leg in the global finance. I see this as an attack on the Rothschilds. Okay, you've had for years J.P. Morgan, Deutsche Bank, and Who's our other big boy? Goldman Sachs, shorting gold and silver, keeping a lid on the price. And all of a sudden they're not. They're now long.
Yeah.
This is they're going after the Bank of England, in my opinion. And like I said, Tom Luongo, if you search him online, you'll find some great interviews with him. Often with Bitcoiners about what he sees is going on behind the scenes. And I agree with that. It seems obvious that they're going to let gold rip to whatever it can go. It's creating a lot of pain and havoc for the most powerful people in the world. And these are the people that are trying to give us the globalist one world order 2030 project 2030 type of thing that none of us want.
Yeah, that's what I see too. And I know that there's a lot of people that are listening that are saying, well, they're probably creating this crash on purpose because they want to usher in this new system. And there's definitely a crash going on, whether you believe it's on purpose or they're doing it to fight this other group, and I agree with you though. It seems like a very well-planned attack against the financial system that's there right now. It just really does. So another question I have for you, when you hear Nasara Jasara, which is something that almost everybody's heard of by now, do you believe there's any reality to that at all, or is that just completely ridiculously made up? Give me 30 seconds to tell you guys about today's sponsor, NanoX. Now, look, if you're anything like me, I'm 43 years old and I'm not getting any younger, but I love to still get out there and do all the things that the younger people do, jiu-jitsu, basketball, all that. But the problem is it comes with pain, and sometimes you need to help manage that pain with some type of natural product. And so NanoX, it penetrates deeper than the leading pain creams. And not only that, it works. It actually works. So guys, I want you to check out NanoX. Link is in the description. If you click on that, I would be very appreciative. Check it out and let them know that I sent you. Thank you so much.
The theory around Nasara Jasara is this was passed. They're going to bring it in at a time of crisis. And I'm of the opinion that there's no way this can be kept secret at this point. In this day and age, there's too many media leaks, too many ways for inquisitive people. And there's plenty of inquisition about this. It is an interesting proposition, but I just don't see that being a viable option. But I would never discount it because too many things come true these days as well. I'm more like to deal with what's being played out right in front of us. And it seems to me the words coming out of the mouths of politicians, oddly enough, for a group of people who constantly lie, they are blatantly telling the truth in a lot of ways. You'll have nothing and like it, right? You'll own nothing and like it. You have where Scott Bessent goes on TV regularly, and I literally says we're doing this. I mean, they gave Argentina $40 billion, right? They bought 20 billion pesos. They gave them a $20 billion buyout. What is that? That's to get at the rare earth minerals. The world is rotating to neutral reserve currencies. Okay. There's no doubt about that. The paper dollar, I don't see a world though where we back things with commodities in directly. And the reason is then you have to fix prices. When we had a gold system, it was $35 per ounce of gold, but you weren't allowed to own gold. Right? So basically they took away only foreign governments were allowed to change the dollar for gold. In a global, now back then you only had Zurich, London, and the United States that even had an exchange. Today you've got Shanghai, Hong Kong. You still have Zurich, you still have London, you have the US. There's a couple more I'm missing in that. Very difficult to deglobalize, right? The exchange of gold and stop the free trade of gold at a floating value. And if you want to fix your currency to gold, that means you have to say your currency. And then how do you, again, if you fix it to gold on a global market scale, now you absolutely has to be digital and you have to be able to burn supply. If a lot of gold comes to market, price of gold goes down, you lose that peg, right? It's no different than a stable coin in crypto losing its peg.
Mm-hmm.
So you make your currency free floating in that manner. And I know gold's relatively stable, but if it's so stable, why has it gone up 27% in the last 9 weeks? You know,
Yeah, when it's
that should tell you how unstable the dollar is.
yeah, exactly. And that brings me to my next question. I think last time we talked, you mentioned the M2 money supply, and you mentioned how Bitcoin stacks up to the M2 money supply. What about gold? How does gold and maybe compare the both, how they stack
Shocking.
up?
It's making a run back, but shockingly, I was shocked. Just like real estate, gold was down significantly to the M2 money supply over the last since 2008, even though it's had two big runs up. Now it is
Before you go any
catching up.
further, let explain to my audience what the M2 money supply is,
So
just
it's
in case they don't
basically,
get it. I always
yeah,
take for granted that most people know what we're talking
most people
about,
do.
but
So
they don't. Yeah.
this is money going into the system, US treasuries, dollars, savings accounts, all that is M2 money supply. Whenever the US government borrows a lot of money, the M2 money supply goes up. When banks are lending a lot, you are adding to the M2 money supply. So when you see interest rates falling, typically that's a sign banks are lending more money. So it's just more dollars in the system, right? As more dollars come in the system, hard assets tend to go up. But what is we feel like your home, for example, is a store of wealth. Um, we feel like we're doing okay with that. But when you chart it out, it did do okay until the crash of 2011. And since then, homes have lost 73% compared to the amount of money being put in. So you're losing. Um, Gold homes really shocked me. I thought they were rolling, especially since they doubled since 2016. So that should tell you something too. Housing prices doubled since 2016, and it's not keeping up with the amount of dollars in the system. So wait, wait a minute.
And
There's
they're
something
getting
off.
their money out of that too with taxes. It's ridiculous how much taxes have come up.
Right.
So it's like you're really not gaining anything. I was doing the numbers. I was like, everything that you think you have in equity is getting flowed out through taxes, insurances, and all these different things to these companies. It is a lose-lose unless you're getting big systems with like 20 or 30 units, renting them all out or whatever. It's really like owning a house is more of a liability than anything. It always has been probably, but it
Mhm.
just seems that way more now.
So gold is really kept up. Silver, awful. I mean,
Yeah.
as someone who looks at, I look at investments, all investments. First thing I look at is the investment versus gold.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why if it outperforms gold, it's a check mark on my list. Definitely worthy of looking deeper. If it outperforms Bitcoin, then I'm almost certain I'm going to buy it.
Mhm.
Okay, or it's worthy of an investment.
But back to the
And of course,
question about the M2 money supply, like
yeah,
Bitcoin and gold, how do they compare to that vast supply?
yeah, Bitcoin is up 1,000% against the M2 money supply, and I can tell you here because I have that chart in the background on gold. If you give me 1 second,
Yeah, take your time.
and it's been gaining pretty steadily since 2022 against money supply. So it's been a good investment since 2022, obviously in dollar value, but it is still down uh, roughly about 20% overall against the money supply. So it's keeping up. For example, the QQQ is dead even with the money supply. It had a big dip in the last 10 years, which is the NASDAQ.
Mhm.
But it is basically if you kept your money in the last 20 years in the NASDAQ, you've kept up with money supply.
Yeah.
Where gold is still down, but obviously what it's doing now, it's catching up very rapidly. And again, the time to get in, against money supply was 2022. The bottom of gold's price was 2016, but you really didn't start gaining against money supply till 2022.
Yeah, that makes sense. And when you
Mhm.
look at, so like this idea of Florida, for instance, they supposedly are going to accept gold. I think it's just gold, maybe not silver, but maybe silver,
Yeah,
but
gold
gold
and
and
gold and silver, yeah,
okay.
both were
And
they, and that was signed by Ron DeSantis this year. I believe next year is when it goes into effect, and it's a legal tender. Basically, if you choose to accept gold or silver coin for payment, you can.
mhm. And that would be interesting how that would work. They'd have to have maybe a certain Kitco button on their register to be able to give you the exact change with what is going on. I don't know how that would work,
And
but
metallurgics, okay, all you do when you start passing around gold and silver coin is open up a whole new line of forgeries.
yeah.
That gets real profitable if they that is the problem. Unless you can, until you can have a metallurgic test on your phone and can test what is handed to you, you have no idea whether you're getting gold or silver.
Yeah.
And you actually, if it's any kind of thick, you have to cut it
Mhm.
to see what's inside. You
Yeah.
can't, you know,
Yeah, because it
and this
could be
is
layered with gold this thick and then the middle's steel or something.
exactly.
Yeah.
And if there's one thing the history has taught us, that all the systems we've put into place so far require trusted third parties.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, there's no trustworthy, trusted third parties.
Yeah. And that's why I kind of
If
like crypto, man. Go ahead though.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, if you put those in place, you are guaranteeing there's going to be fraud. It's human nature.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's, I think that that is maybe what people are going to experience in a large scale before they adopt the digital currency. And that's one thing I really do like about digital currency is you don't have to worry about the lazy dude at the counter that doesn't want to give you your money, or he needs to call the police before he gives you a certain amount of money, or slow transactions, something weird going on with your money. That's what I like about crypto because it does give the power back to the people. Obviously, out of all this, the only thing that concerns me is who might get a hold of it, but that's another subject. Um, Recently, Kury, there was a huge dip in Bitcoin. Like we've never, like I don't think it's ever happened that it's been that much dip overnight. Now it's coming back, but really we're talking about all cryptocurrencies. Um, there were people that put shorts out, people that put longs out, but there was like, and now there was all of these people that made tons of money during this thing because it seemed like they had some insider information. Now, I really want your take on what happened here because it's just confusing to me. It's just like one big um,
Mhm.
good old boy system that they figured out a loop and they jumped in it. I could be wrong, but that's what it seems like.
No, you're not wrong. Very obviously, what you're dealing with centralized crypto exchanges is an unregulated environment, right? So they wash trade, they manipulate the market consistently, but more often it's manipulated through the perpetual futures market. That is a it's paper. It's paper in essence. When you buy a contract, um, when it is liquidated, it's liquidated on the spot market, whether you're short. When now, in my opinion, this is bullish. This was a planned event too. There's no doubt Binance planned this. Now, what happened was Trump. The twist on this was Trump announcing tariffs
Yeah.
again on China.
And who knew that was going to happen at 4 in the morning or whatever, right? Like, oh my goodness.
You're right. Yeah. So you have an inside a guy who isn't inside Washington. I think the internet sleuths have figured out who this is. He's a multi-billionaire. He does have connections to the Trump administration. He's a guy who once ran an FX exchange. So I'm not going to spill his name out because we don't know if he had any real chicanery other than inside knowledge.
Mhm.
So 9 minutes before Trump tweets, he opens a massive, brand new wallet. Nobody knew who it was, but a massive short on Bitcoin.
Mm.
And Trump tweet comes out, and Bitcoin moves down from 121,000 to 118,000. But here's the part that's nefarious and where it was all planned. It could have been, China invading Taiwan. it could have been, you know, a German stock exchange exploding, or the maybe, you know, we've seen it, Japanese carry trade blows up. They were waiting for bad news to give them cover to do this. The reason is if Bitcoin and crypto goes on a fourth quarter run and they have all this leverage in the system, these guys are on the hook for a lot of money. They have to clean their books. And we see these types of leverage flushes all the time by these institutions. So Binance instigated the leverage flush. They added to those, started selling Bitcoin. They actually gave it to their market maker, Wintermute, to start selling Bitcoin. This created, well, stock market's going down, bad news from Trump, China tariffs. This guy's got a big short. So people start to sell. Well, the leverage in crypto oftentimes is cross margin. And what that means is somebody is putting their entire account, all their coins, up to borrow to run these longs and shorts. Now, a lot of people were long, but they were putting up margin with altcoins, which, as we know, altcoins tend to, when Bitcoin rallies, altcoins rally more. When Bitcoin goes down, altcoins go down much more. So in a liquidation event, these people have Bitcoin going down, they're long, they're losing money there, and their collateral is shrinking, bringing their liquidation price up. Now, the real kicker to this is the biggest stable coin right now on Binance is the Athena stable coin. Binance had a mechanism where instead of using price oracles that take in all the pricing from around every exchange, they were only using the price on their books. So the stablecoin depegged, went from $1 to 65 cents. This caused all these cross collateral liquidations. So the price started to skip. So people were being liquidated when they had stop losses. They shouldn't have been liquidated. Well, this spreads because the Binance pricing information goes out amongst the oracles. The price skipping starts to happen everywhere. So people are getting liquidated, well, more liquidations. And of course, if they're all using altcoins as collateral, now you have altcoin contamination. Altcoins sell off 60, 80. You had Atom, which is an OG Bitcoin, hasn't relatively stable. You know, other than last cycle, it's been between $4 and $5 for 3-4 years. Go to 1 cent. And then you had the mismatch pricing of, for example, the bottom was around 107,000 on Coinbase. It's 101,000 on Binance, 100,000 on, just under 100,000 on Kraken. This is the oracles not functioning properly, all because of bad management at Binance. So Binance, in a nutshell, this was an event triggered by Binance. That's normal. These type of liquidations, really market makers have to do, or they go broke. If they don't flush leverage, eventually, if the market moves too big in one direction, the market makers can no longer make the market. But bad technical problems, which could have been fixed, in fact, were scheduled to be fixed in 8 days, were not addressed by Binance. And here's the other thing, Binance provides liquidity to about 90% of the futures, perpetual futures exchanges in crypto. So when Binance stopped providing liquidity, not only on their platform, it stopped for 90%. That's where you saw the big price skipping, because if there's no orders on the books, when people are selling, if you have a liquidation event, it just goes to market. So if I have 1 Bitcoin to sell and the liquidation's at 100,000, but the next buyer isn't at 90,000, that's where the price goes.
Man, what a coincidence, right?
What a coincidence.
What
And
a coincidence.
that's So I think the guy that with the big short that came in is a guy who happened to be privy to the information coming out of the White House, jumped in early.
Hmm.
I think Binance was looking for any bad news to flush the market before the market got hot.
I think so too, because
And
you're seeing it go right back up. I mean, I've never seen it go down this far, but of course, I've never
mhm,
been watching it as long as you, but go down this far and then shoot right back up almost the market cap, increasing about 1% a day, maybe something like that. Pretty intense, man. And it's crazy the way they can manipulate it. But hopefully, like you said, now that they've already done it, now they got this new update that's going to keep that from happening. But my goodness.
yeah, and we all have to remember one thing is nobody who bought spot coins got liquidated.
Yeah.
All right. If you stay away from leverage trading, or at least, you know, a lot of people are like, well, I'm responsible because I use a stop loss. We just proved that in a cascading liquidation manner, stop losses do not protect you.
Mm-mm. It
Okay,
goes
they
down
can
way too
skip right
fast.
over that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the responsible thing is to trade with less than 5% of your overall portfolio and never put any more than that at risk. The mistake people make is they cross collateralize their entire portfolio in
Hmm.
an event like this happens, and years of smart buying and good investing are wiped out in a 15-minute period.
Mm.
That's
Yes.
this is a lack of education. If you understand this, you obviously, if people understood that was the deal. Some people are going to be gamblers and be gamblers, but
Hmm.
most people would go, "Oh, okay, so I shouldn't use this as collateral." This is, but it's a lack of education across the, finance as a whole.
Hmm.
Whether nobody understands the dollar, half the population thinks it's backed by gold right now.
Yeah. There's a lot of
You
people that
know,
were threatening to take their own lives and stuff because of all this. I mean, it's amazing
Mhm.
how a lot of people they do put like everything into it. Just like gamblers that I knew, they're in crypto now, right? They gamble for a living. Now they're in crypto
Yeah.
gambling. So they'll be super rich one day, you know what I'm saying? And then the next day
Yep.
it's like, bro, I don't even know what I'm gonna do. It's like a up and down kind of game that you don't have to play it like that. But you like you said with education on this and all of that, which is what you do, by the way. For
Mhm.
those of you that don't know Kury, he does educate people. And you're getting ready to get on some other calls directly after this. Please give people your email address. This time I'm going to put your email address in the description in case people need help with this, because you actually, me and you and one of your other clients sat and talked the other day, and it was very enlightening and something that I really needed to hear and learn about. So I appreciate that. Let people know your email, Kury, and
Yeah.
also one more thing too. After that, after you give your email, tell them what do you think the cool altcoin to buy is and your price prediction on Bitcoin in 2 months. Let's say 2 months.
Sure. The email is curryreynolds@gmail.com, and that is KURYREYNOLDS. So just my name at gmail.com. Feel free to contact me if you want to set up a consultation. I do hour-long consultations. And again, it's for education. I am not a financial advisor. I'm here to help educate people to make their own decisions, because for me, this is what Bitcoin and crypto are mostly about: self-responsibility. Um, Hot altcoin. We've seen a tremendous reset. Uh, Personally, I have gone pretty hard into Pengu.
That's
Um,
what you said last time, and I've been
yeah,
putting a little pingu in every
and
chance I get
that's
too.
every dip. I'm adding a little bit more, and I'm just watching that. Two reasons: they're one of the ETFs that they're if the government reopens, we've got 20 ETFs in queue to go.
Hmm.
There are 11 Solana, but there's 20 coins that have applications in. I think there's three XRP. These coins have the best chance because retail is not moving this market. So there's 20 coins. I don't have the list handy.
So ETF coins,
Cardano,
basically ETF
yeah.
coins. Okay.
ETF, they're going to see inflows of capital. Now, how big those inflows are going to be, we don't know, but they are going to see inflows, and they have the best chance to really move. BNB has
Mhm.
already taken off. The time to buy that was months ago. I don't think it's a purchase now. It's at 1,300 all-time high. It's
Mhm.
up roughly about 45% against its Bitcoin value since I bought in. And that's what I'm looking for, is coins that are going to move against Bitcoin. So
Mhm.
yeah, my top pick is Pengu, but there's 40 million tokens and coins now. About 30,000 are available fairly easily on decentralized exchanges and centralized exchanges.
Mhm.
Hard to say what isn't going to get institutional money is going to pop. There will be coins. There'll be coins that still 100x.
Mhm.
I just don't have a real valid way to find what those are anymore.
It's so
It used to
random. It's
be,
so random.
yeah. It used to be you could do, like I got into Matic at 1 cent. It was very obvious. It was the first serious L2 for um, for Ethereum, and of course it went to $3
Mhm.
last cycle. It's
It's
huge,
amazing. It's amazing.
200x for me, right?
Yeah.
And that's a those things were easy to spot if you did your research and you took time. Now, I mean, I can see lots of coins. Sui and Aptos, I think are going to be great coins. They're similar speed to Solana. They have uh, great user interface. And I mean, using something on Sui, any of their apps, you don't even know, you wouldn't really know you're using crypto if you
Mhm.
didn't have to plug your wallet in.
Yeah.
They built some really good things. Are they going to have a big boom at the end of this cycle? I don't think so. There's too many VC coins, but could they be huge in the future? Yeah. Um, so I see huge potential. And in 2020, this would have been a no-brainer. Pour your money into those. But
Yeah.
I'm not so sure they're going to see a big run this time.
And so now for
So
BTC, man, BTC, and I agree with you on that because it's hard to tell. I mean, I used to do the same thing. I would look and I'd see how their ledger works, what their coin was made for, why how they're using it, and felt like I could be a pretty good gauge. I mean, last time I 10x'd everything on the bear season, which I was very thankful about. If I do it again, I'll be very very happy. But it's hard this time. It's harder to know what's gonna kick, you know?
yeah, much harder.
Yeah.
Um, so Bitcoin, I'm going to defer to TradFi on this a little bit. So if you go to the options market, there are a massive amount of calls purchased for $100 IBIT, which is the iShares from BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF.
Hmm.
$100 IBIT translates to $175,000 Bitcoin.
Whoa.
Now, there were a lot of buys for that to happen at the end of this month, but even more to end at the end of the fourth quarter.
Wow.
So if they're basically TradFi people are making a large bet that Bitcoin's going to be at 175K or higher
It's at 110
by
right
the end
now,
of the year.
basically 110 and a half. So
Yeah.
I could definitely see that for sure.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't think. In fact, that's overextending what I would predict.
Yeah.
I'm thinking somewhere 150 to 160, and in fact, I'm rooting for that. I don't want to see blow off tops. I would rather see this thing continue to gobble up the world slowly
Hmm.
than to have some big pop, because we've already seen the effects of a big pop. You
Yeah.
get a big drawdown,
Yeah.
and while that's an opportunity, I would rather see this continue to have 20 and 30% drawdowns and continue to move up 40 or 50% at a time, draw down, and then keep going.
Hmm.
That would be my ideal, and would be much better market, and would actually grow adoption, I think, a lot faster for people, and give Bitcoin the type of stability it needs for people to feel comfortable using it as a medium of exchange, which eventually has to happen.
I totally agree with
Bitcoin,
that.
yeah,
Oh,
Bitcoin can't, it's a network that relies on security based on what the miners do. So eventually you have to have a medium of exchange and have those transactions going, or the miners don't have the incentive to mine.
yeah. Why use all that
So,
electricity, power, everything, even keeping nodes going and all that stuff. I mean,
yeah.
it's just it has to happen. And I want to say, Kury, thank you once again for coming and sharing this with our audience. And for those of you listening, the reason I do this is because I want to see all of you succeed. And I don't know, I'm
Me
not a
too.
financial advisor, neither is Kury, but you can see the writing on the wall for the dollar. Eventually, there's a lot of things to know about this new system we're inevitably coming into. So we're thankful for all of you that listen. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Email Kury if you're interested because he can help you. He's a very patient man. I've seen him sit there and just explain and explain and explain things that he probably explained 10 times already and do it with a great way to do it. I mean, I'm the kind of guy that needs to have things explained in almost a way that a child can understand sometimes, and Kury's great at that. So make sure you guys hit him up. Thank you, Kury, for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
John, thank you. Very good to see you again.
Good to see you, man. I'll talk to you soon.
The world keeps lying, but he won't retreat on his quest for truth. Yeah. Truth!